Good morning, 9:01 a.m., May 25th, 2023. And this is a Windows Daily Show. It has a number assigned to it, number 223. I get an audio check there when it finally came live. I get an audio. Yep, we have audio. And how about a picture-in-picture, perhaps? And Dennis and his viewers just joined us and was telling me to say hello to them. Hello, Dennis and his viewers. John Williams says it's even better the second day. He's referring to the trailer. And Nick Poverman before that says, I was on a road trip with my brother and passed a sign on the highway that said speed checked by aircraft. He looked at me and said, yeah, sure, when pigs fly. His court date is next week. When I first read that earlier today, I just thought of the phrase when pigs fly, as that's an unlikely thing to happen. And then I remembered, yeah, the word pig is law enforcement. So I didn't catch it on the first read. Jeff Ryman, hello. John Williams, Lawn Dog. Pretty cool intro video, Doug. I dig it. You definitely show the possibilities that can be created with a little bit of thought and cooperative collaboration with your avatar assistant. By the way, Doug, this morning, BrightTech Code 9 produced a video about checking NVMe drives, and I picked up a tip about using C tools when other tools are not available from the drive manufacturer. We will see what happens with that tool with the other drive brands, but more importantly, I wrote him a comment in the video, and I kind of laid out the groundwork for hosting the video we made about the Samsung 980 Pro failure. The groundwork is there. I may specifically add that video entry in a reply so maybe others can go and review what we did. Brian also, during his demonstration of the Western Digital software, made a comment about manipulating the task schedule. Well, if you remember, I am very, very, very interested in any method to manipulate the task manager because of it being deprecated in some functions of Windows 10 and 11, if I heard him correctly. It sounds like he's going to show us how to add our own time schedule, but when I went there, meaning the task scheduler, nothing was available to change, make our own entries, question mark, question mark, question mark. Hope that makes sense. Sometimes your speed reading, I have to give you a compliment to absorb the drivel. I sometimes spell out, man, I need to sign up for the do not call list. I know it's probably going to be ineffective, but I'm feeling like I'm under attack. Maybe, just maybe it will help. You are live. We hear you on YouTube, and there, all of Lawn Dog's stuff. All right, Lawn Dog, I'm making fun of you a little bit there, but I appreciate your contributions to the show. Okay, what did I skip over? Through focusing on Lawn Dog's all comments were all sequential. Jonathan, hello. Al J, hello. We need Jen live from Jeff Ryman. You know what? These comments that you make about the trailers, they're more important than you realize, because I'm just on the verge of, I'm wondering, are they really being enjoyed as much as my simple mind thinks they would be? I don't know. Greetings all, it's 54 degrees Fahrenheit and sunny here. Mike Wojcik, that's Selden Ball, Brian Lightfoot. Good morning, everybody. Spooky. Hello, Spooky. Spooky comes to us from, I met him during Fortnite, and I think he might have just been playing with Dennis, by the way. He probably came over here with Dennis's redirect. Speedy C, Dennis says raid. Oh, raid is the term used for Twitch. Twitch, I don't think they call them channels, but raiding another. So the word raid is it's the Twitch name for YouTube's redirect. Nick Poverman, what do you think of all the mini PCs that Kerry is reviewing lately? I was using mini PCs before mini PCs were cool. I started selling mini PCs to my clients and mounting them back on the monitors probably about 3 years ago. I don't go try to catch every mini PC that he does. Now, the mini PCs I was doing was mostly Lenovo and Dell's is what I was doing. So the off-brand mini PCs, I haven't done them with my clients yet. However, Well, I wouldn't be at all surprised if with Windows 11, the massive amount of my clients that are going to need new computers, I'm 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 really attracted to that in these lower price minis where and I've got a client right now that needs like 30, 40 new computers. And I worked with Dell, worked up a quote for doing the whole massive amount of them. I wanted them to say yes to this big, huge price tag so that we could start doing them a few computers at a time over the next couple of years. And they got really scared with that big dollar amount. However, when you take that dollar amount and amortize it out across all the employees involved and how much money they're spending per month on each of those employees, it's probably 1/3 of their monthly employee expense. But if I turn that around and do the mini PCs with them, do them inexpensive, because a lot of the end users in my clients' offices do not need high-end computers. In fact, they have the computers that many of you describe as dinosaurs. Dinosaurs. So now hey, that's what Carrie's into right now, is doing the mini PCs, is not doing as much builds. I totally get it as far as wanting to shift gears. I think he was a little bit burned out on building the PCs. So I don't know what you were looking for when you asked me what I think of all the mini PCs. I am not nearly as fussy about a computer. People say, oh, that brand or that model is lousy, or you should always buy this one. A computer's a computer is a computer. Yeah. Computer enthusiasts, which we are, and I am, and that's like in this meeting room with people, you stand up and say, my name is Doug. I am a computer enthusiast. Recovering. It's a little bit of a disadvantage when you get stuck in your head that this is a good one, this is a bad one. I have so many different computers out there among my clients' computers. I get a new client come in and they have whatever computers they have. I just work with them. Most of the time, they work fine for the end user's purposes. Now, for a computer enthusiast, different story completely. For those who watch this video, different story completely. You'll have it in your heads that you want Intel or AMD or air-cooled or water-cooled or graphics card or certain brand memory, certain speed memory. You want this, that, and the other thing. And to the end users in offices, it just doesn't matter. So, Spooky says, laugh out loud, Dennis. Lawn Dog, wow, your speed reading skills are fantastic. Obviously, you did attend Evelyn Woodhead speed reading course. I had a very active morning already, as you can tell. Well, when I was in high school, my mother did pay for me to go to a speed reading course in the evenings. There was held at a hotel, and I practiced the techniques. And I got to a point where I could read through a book, and I would use novels to practice where I could read through it. And this method did not teach to do it pacing with a finger. You just pace down, reading the left half of 3 lines at a time, the right half of 3 lines at a time, and just moving your eye down the page. Don't worry about reading. Don't pronounce the words in your head. Just move your eyes back and forth. And as I worked on that technique, I got to the point where I realized I was absorbing the story that way. The left side of 3 lines and then the right side of 3 lines. Let your eyes see those, and your mind can put it together. It's just like so many of you know that you can drive your car on autopilot. You're not thinking about the turns and the exits and the on-ramps you need to go to. You get 5 miles down the road and you wonder, how did I get here? Because your mind develops these mental synapses and is able to do that function. The same thing's true about reading. If you get a good training and practice it, I can't do that anymore. Al J says, I love all the trailers. Well, thank you for that. You do. Is a significant, the few comments that I get. When I go look at the video before the live stream goes, and I look, there's not much comments there. Are these worth doing? So your comments, they are effective if you enjoy seeing those. Yes, normally we raid Twitch channels. Lana Dro says, enjoyed the pre-show. Great. Maybe this is worth doing. Jeff Ryman, the question is how good the service will be from the off-brand mini PC suppliers. How often do you think I have called to get service from a PC manufacturer on the PCs that are in my clients' offices? That's so rare. It just is almost never. When I remember maybe 2 decades ago, I had to call, I think it was Dell. Yes, it was Dell for a file server. I got the file server in for a client. I went to turn on, it wouldn't turn on. So I called them for support. Well, no, I didn't call them for, no. First I opened the computer up, right? Because I'm a computer technician and I'm looking around to see what's going on there. And I noticed something kind of important. So I call them. And I get good support from them. I get through to somebody and I tell them, there's no CPU in this computer. The CPU socket is empty. But, no, I don't call for support. Sorry, no, I don't need to find out the service is going to be for an off-brand mini PC supplier. I'll buy it from Amazon. If there's nothing wrong with it in the first 30 days, then there's not going to be any support needed. Or otherwise, it might be something that I'll just fix. Any calling for support for anybody, and I'm charging my client my hourly rate because I don't guarantee the computers. It's better for me to just fix it. I just buy the parts and fix it. There have been occasions where I'll call and we'll need a replacement part. They'll ship it out, but still it doesn't save that much money. It's not that important in my environment. Now it's different for your environment for some of you. When you are not charging $115 an hour, my rates are a little bit low for the market by choice. Some of you just coughed and gagged that I charge that much, but no, that's really kind of low for the market. But being on the phone for an hour and a half with them, going through the first level text and getting escalated, by the time I call for support, I need to be escalated. They will not escalate me until I go through the script that the first tier support has. So, no, that's not an issue in my environment, for my circumstances. So I don't really care about that. Bobby Warren says, hey, Doug, Brian Lightfoot, watch Doug's trailers or eat breakfast. Easy choice, said the starving technician. Nick Poverman says, you answered my question about the mini PCs perfectly. That was what I was looking for. Thank you. Bobby says, Ken will have a show. Thank you. I was intending to check that before I started the live stream, and I forgot. I thought about it once during the live stream and didn't get to it. So here we'll go to a redirect. Search videos from other channels. Carrie Holzman has a show today, but I will forward to Carrie on Fridays, as that is his declared regular day. And here we're going to Ken Stout today. Come back to chat. Wonder if my mini will. Lana Dro. Wonder if my mini will. Mini will what? I don't know. Brian Lightfoot, tomorrow's show, the 12 steps to recovery for computer enthusiasts. Nick Poverman got a laugh out of that. Never. So here's George. Good morning, Doug. And Lawn Dog, Jeff. Generally speaking, overall, today's electronics are of pretty good quality. maybe a little higher than pretty good. And what I'm seeing from these mini PCs, these are companies that seem to be using fairly good engineering and very good parts. Lorna Dro says, let's see, I wonder if my PC will replace my laptop. Just take mini with me, plug in video when I get there. Yes, I when I was considering a replacement computer for the cabin that I get to use during summers, the end of last summer, end of last year, I was considering getting a new laptop, and using a mini PC was one of my thoughts there. Take a mini and a monitor. Now, in that environment, there was a possibility of a monitor staying up there. So yeah, that is, if you're going from one location to another, and when you get to the other location, you're going to be static, not moving around, a mini can be a very, very good choice. Lawn Dog, so I am at this time not concerned about longevity of the device when you take into consideration the price, but I suspect that they will last a very long time, meaning 10 years or more. I agree. Most electronic failures happen within the 2 first months. I agree. Just depends upon how much the device is used. I disagree. The first 2 months or 10 years, I think if there's a problem in the first 2 months, it's not so much about how much it's being used. Now, when you say just depends, I don't know if you're referring to the failure within the first 2 months or that it will last 10 years or more. I've seen computers that are in everyday use last 10 years just fine. If they are used very infrequently, that could actually have a life-shortening effect, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. I see computers last much longer than people seem to give them expectation for. Nick Poverman, in 15 years at my current job, I called HP once about a printer. It was the one we talked about on one of your shows that ended up getting returned. There you go. So somebody else with the same experience as I had. Support? Yeah. Jeff Ryman, now let me give a caveat there. Kerry Holzman is very, very concerned about support, but he's building computers. That's a different environment than my environment. My environment, I hardly ever have called for support, and I dread it if I consider it. My experiences with calling support is typically vertical market software companies, not about the computer. Vertical market software companies where I deal with calling for support. Kerry Holzman's in a different environment. He builds custom computers. His occasion for support is more commonplace than I'm. So I'm not saying I disagree with Kerry. I'm saying I'm in a different boat. Kate Cordius Technology, good morning. Jeff Ryman, I was thinking more about availability, drivers, BIOS upgrades, etc. In regards to Jeff's prior comment, support, the question how good the service will be from the off-brand mini suppliers. So that would be like BIOS updates of drivers and such. I've very rarely had trouble with a computer where it's because there was a driver not available or a BIOS upgrade available. The computer enthusiasts that are watching the videos are often very conscientious about updating BIOS and updating drivers. I never do that. Let me get an underline, bold italics on this statement. I do not routinely update drivers and BIOS on my clients' computers. Never, unless there's a problem. If there's a problem, then I'll go look for that. If it's not broke, don't fix it. That's the boat I'm in. I'm not saying that's for you. I'm not saying that's for everybody out there. The boat that I'm in, the good ship Lollipop, why did that come to my mind? For my clients' computers, I don't fix it if it's not broke. I don't go routinely update BIOS. I don't go routinely update drivers. I have them set up on automatic Windows updates. I don't go check up on them until there's a problem. If there's a problem, I'll go look and see, has it been doing its Windows updates? If not, then I find, oh, Windows updates is broken. I'll fix it. So then you ask, well, Doug, doesn't that make your clients' computers more at risk, more vulnerable? No, not by comparison to their other vulnerabilities. None of my clients have a full-time IT security department. If they did, they would not be using me. Because they don't have a full-time IT security department, their vulnerabilities are far higher than any vulnerability that's caused by maybe a broken Windows update and they're not getting updated, and my clients aren't a high enough target of interest to the highly skilled, highly motivated criminal hacker who's going after the big bucks. My clients are not the deep pockets big bucks. If they were, they would not be using my services. They would have full-time IT security. Let's see. K. Cordius Technology, good morning. Jim, the Tier 1 support is useless to me. That goes for ISPs and computer OEMs. Yes. It's very difficult to break through a Tier 1 support. Now, I have had occasions buying a Dell computers directly from Dell where we'll pay for the higher tier support that I can get directly to the higher tier support people. We do that for servers. I have done that for servers, and but not for workstations. And it is so rare that I've had to call for support. On the occasions that I have, I think it's always been with a brand newly purchased computer. And that's typically been there's something was wrong with it, and we wind up getting an exchange computer. Lawn Dog, Jeff Ryman bring up a good point about the drivers, but it seems like at this time, these companies are providing the drivers. Now, when it comes to updating the BIOS, now a lot of those mini PCs, off-brand mini PCs, seem to come from perhaps the same manufacturer, and then they're sold under different brand names. So under the covers, whoever's providing the drivers and the BIOS is behind the company that allegedly manufactured the computer, I think. When it comes to Jeff when it comes to updating the BIOS, Jeff, that is more of a long-term thing, at least in my experience. What I'm thinking in my mind, BIOS, generally speaking, does not need to be updated. The thing is with prices here in Canada at 30% taxes on top of USA, what no one evaluates as support for these devices. Support levels are really overlooked. See, I didn't mean to read that as I was continuing of Lawn Dog. That was Greg M. Now, another piece about the BIOS updates, a lot of times what those BIOS updates doing is it's providing the capability of that BIOS to support newer devices that have been manufactured since the BIOS that you're currently using. In my clients' computers, we never upgrade the computers. So rare. Sometimes maybe I added more memory or a swap from a spinning drive to an SSD drive. That has never required a BIOS update in order for the computer to recognize the new device. That's probably the only place that it's going to be of much significance. The things that are updated in BIOS are, if there's security issues, there's such a rare vulnerability, unlikely to be attacked, or if you go do the research on that, the attacker would have to have physical access to the computer, or they have to have a compromised computer already. There's just the BIOS has to be updated to provide fix for that. That doesn't mean every computer out there has to get the fix, because not every computer out there is a attractive target to the skill level of the hacker that would be utilizing that vulnerability. Risk analysis. Actuary. Insurance is called an actuary. Lawn Dog, I have many machines around my house from way back in the Windows XP and Vista days, and there is no problem with them whatsoever concerning BIOS, but I'm sure there are BIOS updates because of modern changes and add-in features and things like that. Yeah, if you try putting in a drive that the BIOS that it currently has doesn't recognize, you might have trouble with that. All right, so then you get an update. or maybe a higher capability processor chip that motherboard can now handle. You might need a BIOS update for that. But I'm not doing that with my clients' computers. Mike Wojcik, a computer enthusiast normally would have already done all the things Tier 1 support would have you do. Yes. Same thing with me. I would have already done the things that a Tier 1 support would have you do. That's why I'm so reluctant to call for support, because then I have to go through their script. And I've learned, instead of fighting them and telling them I've already done it, I just do it. It's a lot easier to not argue with them. If I start arguing with them, oh boy, I had one client. I've had maybe 3 occasions. How's that way? The cool way to do 3 is like this. I'm still through. I'm old school. Yeah, I've had a couple of occasions where I'm in somebody's inner office and I'm on the phone with some support, and I'm upset, and I yell at them on the phone. The rest of the office hearing me, and they are stunned, because in their mind, Doug is this very gentle, easygoing, laid-back, friendly person, and they see me angry. It's not pleasant, and I want to avoid that. It messes up my day. So if I'm calling for support, I get into a mind frame where I'm just going to do what they asked me to do. Tell them the results, and okay, now what you want me to do. Changes in add-in features and things like that. Greg M, 30% taxes, 30% exchange rate, 12% taxes. That was for Canada. Jeff Ryman to Lawn Dog, I'm not as confident as you that these small companies are providing good hardware, firmware, etc. If I were to use those computers for my clients, and they will save the money, I'm not going to mark up that computer as though it was the price tag of a Dell or HP. I'll let them save the money, but I'll give them choice. We can do this computer or this computer with this computer, the cheaper model, off-brand. Basically, we consider that if something goes wrong with it, we just replace it. Because at $400 or $500, it's not worth paying my $115 per hour to try to fix something that's wrong with a $500 or $600 computer. Now, if it were to happen frequently, then I'm not going to recommend those computers anymore. So I have some clients who want to be very, very cheap, save money wherever they can. Well, I'll explain that to them up front. If we wind up having to cover it, it's not my responsibility to cover the time. It's not a situation where they say, well, Doug, you recommended this computer. We bought it on your computer. I say, no, I gave you those choices. You chose the cheap one, and I told you if something goes wrong with it, we're probably just going to replace it. Manage expectations. Lawn Dog, well, I cannot argue with that. They are probably the most generic drivers, but we're talking about chips that are in all our computers. So the drivers should be generally available as long as you do not find something off like AliExpress. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you find the drivers available with AliExpress computers. I'll do Amazon. Now, I'm not going to do AliExpress. I'm not going to do eBay. I'm not going to do whatever else. It's Amazon or Dell or HP or Lenovo. I'll buy direct from those companies. And I have had clients where I've explained it. Here's the cost with Amazon. Here's the cost with Dell or HP. It's going to take maybe 6 to 8 weeks. Over here, it's going to be a few days with Amazon. I've had clients who decide they want to buy from Dell or HP or Lenovo direct. And those other super cheap Chinese computers, I think we're both in agreement there has to be some caution, but we're talking about an inexpensive computer for basic use. Let's not get crazy about having sophisticated needs. It would not be the right PC to purchase. I will go back and remind you now and then that most of my end users in my clients' offices, their utilization of a computer is very lightweight on the CPU, very lightweight on memory, very lightweight. I already said CPU. I was about to say processor. Duh, Doug. CPU, processor, same thing. Storage. They're very lightweight on those things. So it's very rare that we upgrade. There have been times with Windows 10s as it got more complicated that I upgrade a computer that maybe used to be Windows 7. We upgraded to Windows 10. It had 4 gigabytes of RAM, so I upgraded to 8 gigabytes, or I might go jump straight to 16. Really, the 16 over 8 is just a waste for most of my clients. They're just not using it. And then it also varies from the computer user. Some of my users, they might have 8 to 10 programs open with a whole bunch of windows, massive amount of browser tabs open, massive amount of Word documents and Excel spreadsheets open, a massive number of emails all open at the same time. I want to put more memory. I want to put higher CPU, higher base motherboard on those computers. So we will buy more expensive for those users. But most of those are usually business owners that are that active and that sloppy about their work environment. I hope they're not watching. Now I'll say I can say that to their faces for most of them. Yeah, but their staff, geez, they got a browser open with a few tabs. They've got a couple Microsoft Word documents open. They got Outlook open. They open an email. They deal with it and they close the email. Not very taxing on the computers whatsoever. Greg M., I am with Doug. I do not update drivers or BIOS for clients if they are working fine. The only thing that I have replaced in desktop computers I have built is power supply. But cruising the internet, that's a different person. In desktop computers I have built is power supplies. I started my business building computers. That is how I got my clientele. But that was back in 1992 that I opened my own business. Now, the companies that I was working for, one of the companies I was working immediately before that, we were building computers there. So I had the connections with our local parts supplier, which was a owner-operated business. He had no staff whatsoever. He was ordering the parts. He was importing them from, I don't know, China and Korea and wherever. There was no Amazon at that time. He was importing these parts, and every week that I go to get parts from him, they might be it might be a different motherboard than what I was getting last week for the same class of motherboard. Those were like 286s and 386s. So the parts weren't as stable and consistent, and those computers just took a massive amount of support. I would sell those to my clients. I would warranty them to my clients because I was building them. And if something went wrong with them, I went back and fixed them for free. And there were things going wrong with them far too often because the parts reliability and stability wasn't nearly as good as it is today. Very flaky. So it didn't take too long, maybe a year or two of building computers that way, that I started buying computers directly from Dell, and I think it was Compaq at the time, and then became HP Compaq. And let's see, IBM, we buy direct from IBM, and there was no Amazon. There was a Tech Data was a parts wholesaler that I had an account with. I could buy from them, and Miracell. I would buy from them. So that's where I could buy brand name computers from them. And because I wasn't large enough to buy directly from the major name manufacturers, except for Dell. I think Dell did provide website that you could order direct from them. Cruising the Londog, but cruising the internet, doing general computer things. He's referring to, let's not go crazy about having sophisticated needs, but cruising the internet, doing general I'm over time. Okay, I'm sorry, Ken. I will read my orange things here and then send them over to you. Doug, all your videos are informative. Your Saturday shows are very interesting. Glad I joined this community. Thank you, Speedy C. Londog, what you're talking about is rebranding boards that are actually made by a popular company, and all you have to do is change the silk screening and use the board. I'm going to skip over the rest of your follow-up on that. John Williams, it seems that Dell and HP get BIOS updates through Windows updates automatically. Yes, I agree. Absolutely. I've seen that. And there's right over here, I have this Microsoft Surface laptop. It also had a bunch of firmware updates. And so it's not just the BIOS updates, but firmware for other hardware as well. Yes, they get BIOS updates through Windows updates, so nothing special. Have you heard of a brand called Asus? They make laptops. Yes, and I have clients that have Asus, and I'm just going to try to list them off quickly. Several other brands other than what I've mentioned. I can't think of them now. All right, I'm trying to wrap this up. Okay, so that's enough. I've covered all the orange things. So Ken, here they come to you. Here's my email address. You can send me a question by email that I'll respond to during one of the live streams and send you a link to the place in that video. If you're not somebody that watches regularly already. And so I hope that was useful. Have a great day. Catch you later. Goodbye.